Hi everyone, I'm Susan Cachay and I'm here with Cressida Elias. We're nutritionists that work with hair tissue mineral analysis in our practice. And we just wanted to chat a little bit about why we've chosen to use this amazing tool, the benefits of it, and how it actually can help us increase a person's health and vitality and get them to improved, a state of improved health. So Cressida, did you just want to chat a little bit about the actual test?
Yes. So basically, the test, we take a small sample of hair from the back of the head, and we test 21 different minerals and metals in the body. This will actually give us a good indication of what is going on in your body, in the tissue of the body. It's a non-invasive tissue test, basically. So we can see many things in a tissue mineral analysis. We can see stress patterns, your metabolic type, whether you're fast or slow metabolism. We can see thyroid function and hormone function, adrenal function, and we can see toxic metal levels as well. So I'll just bring up, I'll just share the screen here,
Okay.
and then you can see a test. So this is a typical test from Analytical Research Labs in Arizona, USA. This is where we send all the samples. And here we have the major macro minerals: calcium, magnesium, sodium, and potassium. These are the most important minerals that we see on the hair test. These are the ones that we aim to balance, because when these are all balanced and in good ratios between each other, they help resolve symptoms and chronic issues that people have. Susan, do you want to
Sure,
talk about
we'll chat a little bit about this. One of the beauties of this test is that it actually looks at stress patterns that are manifesting even before they might be showing up on a blood test. So some people say, well, how are you going to treat this or that symptom? Even though we can focus on symptoms at the beginning of a program, the goal is actually to balance your body as an overall system, so that we're not focusing really on remedies, so that your body is at a place of high vitality and actually is able to deal with the symptoms on its own. And really, that's what true health is all about. So with this hair test, the first four macrominerals, definitely the most important and the first things that we look at. And just generally on this test, we can see that this client had a very high calcium level, especially compared to the magnesium, which actually tells us a little bit about their ability to handle sugar, their blood sugar ratio, and a bit about their diet, their carbohydrate tolerance, and what their diet is like. The low sodium and potassium are actually related to lower adrenal gland function in the body. So that tells me right away, without even having to look at anything else, I know that the person's probably hanging on to metals, most likely hanging on to a lot of copper. And that's simply because the adrenal function is low. And they're also in a state of sympathetic dominance with the low potassium. So without even looking at anything else, we can already tell that those things are happening in the body, and they're putting the body into a place of stress, which is not conducive to releasing metals and detoxification. So a program would be recommended that first and foremost would be to help those four macrominerals balance and the ratios balance. But if we look on to the rest of them there, we can see that iron, copper, manganese are low. They're what we call poor or very poor eliminators, meaning that we know from other stress patterns that are evident on this hair test that the person is actually hanging on to those. And so when the body is balanced, what we look for on subsequent retests is we look for those levels to start to come up. And it's quite fascinating because you can see that as a person does retests and moves through the program, how things are shifting and changing.
Yeah, that's right. And just to let you know, this black line here across the top, that's the ideal level. And then this is a good range between the top of this blue section and the bottom. So this is where you want your levels to be, basically. And so if we look across here, we can see something else that indicates this person is probably going to have a weak immune, which is the low zinc. And if I go across, the phosphorus is actually not too bad at the moment, but we often see a higher phosphorus when there are metals dumping. And currently she's dumping arsenic and molybdenum and lithium. So we go back up here, and that is a pretty low zinc. And this particular client, she does have chronic infections, and she is presenting symptoms of fatigue. We can see with those macro minerals being quite low. The magnesium, sodium in particular represents the adrenal strength, and so does the potassium. So with, like Susan said, we can see there are sugar metabolism issues with the high calcium and the low magnesium, and also with the very low potassium. So she's very likely, and she is presenting symptoms of hyperglycemia. And down here, you can see all the metals that we test, and these can get extremely high on retests. They can go, in fact, off the chart, and we can see a lot of people have these stored, and you might not actually see them necessarily on the first test. They might be actually very low, and a lot of people think, oh, that's great, you know, I don't have any toxic metals, I'm fine, and there must be something else wrong with me. But when people actually get on the program and they start taking the supplements, which are aiming to balance those first 4 minerals and to replenish other nutrient minerals, the body starts to get some energy and greater vitality, and then the toxic metals will naturally start to come out. Obviously, what we do on the protocol as well is we emphasize detox procedures, because it's very important to open up detox pathways in the body. So we support the kidneys and the liver, and we do suggest some other very easy, simple detox methods such as sauna and so on. Susan, is there something else that you'd like to add?
I just wanted to add that this is such a valuable tool, because without seeing these stress patterns, this person may have been recommended supplements that would be moving their body chemistry into a direction that would not be a healthy direction for them. So that's why this is so important. And so much different than what a lot of other practitioners do, where they're just saying, you know, here's your symptoms, we're going to give you these particular supplements. This is actually moving your body chemistry into a place where your body is then able to let go of the metals and toxins more efficiently and in a safe way. This is very different than chelation that will pull the metals out. We're simply supporting your body. This is all about following the body and supporting where your body where it is at. And as we do that, your body naturally will start to release these metals, right? Our bodies are meant to detox. We detox every day. It's stress of everyday life and things that we go through in our body chemistry getting out of balance that just the metals and toxins start to build up. So that is really important, that this tool, yes, it's nice to be able to see all of this and see what's happening in the body. But for me, the real bonus of this is how this enables us to see what the body needs in order to move forward and to a place of increased health.
Yeah, that's great. And if we go down a bit further to this section, you can see we have ratios between the major minerals. So we've got the calcium and magnesium ratio here. We've got a column of ideal ratios, and then we've got the current ratio. And as this is a retest, we've got what the previous ratio is. So we can make comparisons. We can see if the client is actually progressing or perhaps retracing even. Now, retracing is a concept where the body will often go back through past infections and other symptoms that they have had in the past to heal them at a deeper level and to heal them for good. So this is a concept that is very much well known in nutritional circles, and we do see that happen a lot with clients.
Yeah.
Okay, so this one here, the calcium magnesium, as Susan said, is showing sugar metabolism. It also shows a lifestyle issue as well, because if it's above a certain level, so above about 13 to 1, there is something in the lifestyle of the person. It could possibly be an attitude that is causing additional stress on the body. And so we would ask the client to, have a look and see what it is that's something in their life that is not serving them so well. It could be over exercising, it could be drinking too much, it could be, eating chocolate for every meal. It could be anything. It could be an attitude of perfectionism, but that's a very important ratio, and it can take people a while to get that sorted out and to balance that. But moving down, we've got the thyroid ratio. So the calcium to potassium ratio is an important ratio showing the thyroid vitality, and this is the thyroid effect at cellular level, is what it's showing. And so we know that the thyroid the thyroid hormones are struggling a bit within the cells to create energy, and we can see this is very high, and then this would indicate a slow thyroid effect and fatigue, basically, and some other slow metabolism symptoms. Going down further, we've got the adrenal ratio, and then which is the sodium to magnesium ratio, and the sodium to potassium ratio. Susan, do you want to speak about those two ratios?
Sure. So the NAMG, which is the adrenal ratio. So on this test, especially when a person's first starting a program, some of these ratios can be what we call propped up. So even though they look good, we know that if a person has a lot of metals that they're storing, they can look better than they are. So for this person, the calcium to potassium, as you mentioned, Cressida, the thyroid ratio is high or slow. Well, for the adrenal, the NAMG, this client right now, she's actually at a healthy level at 3.50. But what we know is that there's probably metals that are stored there that are propping it up. We don't worry about that as we go along the program. As I mentioned earlier, we just follow the body. But that is within the healthy range for that particular one. And so is the NAK, the sodium to potassium ratio. That's probably the most crucial ratio. If I were to say, well, what is the top ratio that we're looking at in that significant mineral ratio section? It would really be the sodium to potassium. That's what Dr. Paulette called, the life or death ratio, the overall vitality ratio. And so anytime that's below about 2.50, we know that indicates lower overall vitality. There can be digestive issues. Person isn't detoxifying very well. There's kind of this overall stress on the body, which is indicating a lower overall vitality level. And of course, if you have lower overall vitality, your body is more likely to store metals, to not be able to deal with viruses or infections effectively, and things kind of start to accumulate and stagnate and sit in the body. And so this client with a ratio of 3.50 right now, that's great. And as I said, if someone's just starting the program, it may be that they start high and go low. I know when I started, I think my ratio was about 6, which is on the higher end. And I thought, oh, gee, that's interesting. I have symptoms of low. And sure enough, I was low underneath. And it took me probably about my first year on the program where I watched it and it kept dropping. And if you didn't know how to read the test, you would think, oh my gosh, I'm getting worse. And it's not. It's that you're actually peeling back the layers and you're just getting to deeper and deeper layers. And as I was throwing off metals and toxins, I was getting to a place where I finally was able to see that low, that true NAK ratio. And of course it built up from there, right? As I stayed on the program, it built up again from there. But that's how this works, where the body compensates with propping itself up by metals. It doesn't mean that it's functioning well. It just does that because the preferred minerals haven't been there at key times, probably during, stressful times. And so right now we'd say, this client, your NAK ratio is great. And we'll see what happens as we move through the program and what changes. And then the last two ratios really are not ones that we focus on very much. Copper toxicity or copper imbalance is definitely something that affects most people or a lot of people, especially when the adrenal function is low. So even for this client, without looking at the zinc to copper ratio, because they had those lower adrenal function indicators, I already know that there's a copper issue. And especially when we look at the copper and it was very low. So it's what we call a poor eliminator. We know that they're storing more. And with the high calcium, that's another indicator. So without even looking at this, we know that there's the signs there. But this gives us an indication, of hormone balance, whether or not there's a copper issue. And we'll see that change over time as well. And then the last one, the calcium to phosphorus, it's not one that we really focus on, but I like to touch on it because otherwise people say, well, why is it there? It's an older reading that Dr. Paul Eck used to use more for autonomic nervous system balance, a balance between parasympathetic and sympathetic. We focus more on the potassium level to indicate one of the main indicators for sympathetic dominance now. But this higher ratio often indicates that there's more of an exhaustion pattern in the body. It's better when I look at the client's first test or previous test, it's definitely come down, but it would still be in that category where it would indicate to me that there's more of an exhaustion pattern, or confirming as well that slower oxidation rate, which just slows everything down and means that the person is, again, sluggish, hanging into toxins and metals, not detoxing as efficiently as they could be.
Okay. Great. Thanks, Susan. I just wanted to touch on what you spoke about earlier, which was that toxic metals are pushing up these ratios, some of them, because some people are probably wondering how that occurs. And it's because toxic metals will replace minerals in the body, and the body will actually use these metals to help the body function, and they can be quite stimulating. They are very similar in structure to some of the minerals, and that is why the body will pick them up from the environment and use them. So that is why we emphasize detox, but in a very gentle way, by replacing the minerals in the body, and then these will slowly allow the toxic metals to detox.
Exactly. And I love that. I love this program for that reason. It's such a gentle way of encouraging the body to release the metals, and it does so on its own schedule, right, by providing those preferred minerals. And so as an example of that, zinc is required by the thyroid gland, and zinc and cadmium have a fairly similar chemical structure. And so if there's not the preferred zinc around and you're under stress, the body's going to take cadmium and put it in your thyroid gland. And all of a sudden, the thyroid isn't working, or if there's not enough iodine, right? Chloride or fluoride, bromide get in there, the other halogens. And so on this program, as the body's getting healthier and you were providing those preferred minerals that we can see with the underlying stress patterns here that the body needs, the body will naturally start to release those toxins and metals. And we can see it on retests, and it's brilliant, right? So this is not, let's go on a 3-month detox. That's not how this program works. It's looking at the long term. How can we safely encourage the body to get rid of these metals? And so that's how this works. And so if you want more information, you can contact either one of us. Our contact information is down below, and we'd be happy to chat with you more and see if if mineral nutritional balancing is a good fit for you. And if you're interested in doing a hair analysis, we can definitely arrange that for you as well.
Great. Thanks, Susan.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye bye.